and I love you.
Content warning. The stories and themes shared throughout this podcast may contain themes that can be distressing for you. If needed, please pause and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If needed, please reach out to a mental health professional for support.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. Hold the Alana, but hello to Kara. So Kara,
Woohoo!
yeah, Kara, oof, I'm just so excited. This episode is, guys, friends, folks. Just wait. Kara's like one of my most favorite humans, and I'm so honored she's here today. So, Kera Sanchez is a high school dean of students, military wife, and mom of two who channels her personal journey through loss and advocacy and empowerment. A passionate mother, loss, and grief expert, she's the author of Legacy Letters, a guided journal, and the founder and editor in chief of Get Griefy magazine and Get Griefy's small business collective, which are platforms dedicated to grief education and support. Through her work, Kara helps others to find strength in their stories, turning pain into purpose and fostering healing and connection. And what I love about this realm, one, Get Griefy, you can read for free online, or you can buy the print copy. Two, I met Kara over Instagram through a mutual connection. Shout out to Rhonda Swan. And then her and I met and hit it off. She's in Resilient AF, Stories of Resilience. I'm on the cover of her second issue. Yes, cover girl of grief over here. Hello. Who would have thought? Making mama proud. And we're launching something so special this week. And so
Super special.
super special, but we're going to get to that. Because first I want to talk about Kara's story. So first of all, Kara, thanks for joining us after hot Pilates with beautiful makeup.
Trust me, the makeup was not on while I was in the hot room. I was melting in the hot room, but I came home and quickly got ready. So we're here and I'm excited. So this
And
is going to
and
be great
and you and I have something very tragic in common.
for sure. Yeah.
Actually, we have many things in common, but um you lost your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that we bonded over instantly because not only did we lose a mom, and I know that you've lost your dad as well, and many other people that are very close to you, as well as a future that was robbed from you. But let's digress. I think the reason why we bonded is because the way that we chose to heal. And healing is definitely a verb, it's an action, and it's something that you have to put in a little bit every day. But we chose to do that by creating communities for people and empowering people to share their stories. And, you're doing that with Resilient AF in your books and the global resilience community. And I'm doing that with Get Griefy. And I think when you find other people who are doing similar things with their grief, you instantly become bonded with them. And you do see that there's like some soul alignment there. And so I feel that with you. Like we've only known each other for about a year now, but um yeah, it's pretty cool to see how our friendship has blossomed. And very much look up to you as a mentor in a way. And it's just been fun to like, I like when we chat together and we have like what you call jam sessions, right? And
Yeah.
we're just like throwing ideas back and forth with each other because ideally, I do think that that's like a way to deal with grief is creating a purpose from it. And that's what we're doing. And so for me, it's been so healing for
Yeah,
sure.
and I just want to say, like, Kara, I know you have 400 jobs, like mom to young kids, wife, dean, and editor in chief and running a collective. But let me tell you, if you were available to hire to manage my marketing, you're hired because you put out some of the funniest, most creative, dark humor grief posts. And like I sometimes like have like legit LOLs, like cackles. Because your brain is just, I love the way your brain works. And yeah, I just want to say, like, you guys need to follow her on social media. And it's so funny because now our friendship has evolved to like texting back and forth. And basically, we're Thelma and Louise, Pinky and the Brain, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But let's talk about Laura.
Yes. Well,
Tell me,
so
tell us about your mom. Tell us about your mom and and your journey together.
For sure. Well, so like, it's kind of funny that you bring that up, my coping mechanisms, because that was 1000% like from her. My mom was a spitfire and just one of the funniest people I knew. And she had no filter. So like whatever came through Laura's brain, she said it out loud. Even in professional places, my mom was also an educator. And sometimes she would rub people the wrong way by just saying whatever she needed to say, but it needed to be said. And so there is a sliver of that in me. So, like, if you can imagine, like, I'm not even joking, that's a sliver because there are some things that my mom used to say that would just make my jaw drop, right? I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. So, if, yeah, you think that my stuff is dark and funny and silly, like, you would have just been rolling with my mom because that was the type of person that she was. She was just so vibrant and full of life, very sparky. Um, at her funeral, we actually had people like submit like a word for a word bubble. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a word cloud kind of thing,
Hmm.
or like everyone puts like a word in, like a descriptor or a noun or something that you would associate with her. And we turned it into like a big sunshine or whatever. And like just the words that were on there were cracking me up because that was my mom, was just
Oh.
she was a nut, totally. Such a nut.
Well,
And
I love that that nut made you a
yeah,
mini nut, or
a
maybe a
mini
big
nut.
nut.
Yeah, we always say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I did not fall
Oh.
too far, but I'm still um yeah, my roots do not go as deep as hers because man, she was goofy. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. And how did Laura leave this earth?
So this is, I mean, I could go on forever about this, but I'll keep it nice and short. Basically, we don't know 100% what happened to her, but she passed away while she was on vacation. She was in Italy. She had just arrived in Italy and she was there for about 24 hours and just saying that she wasn't feeling well. And she decided to stay back in the hotel room while everyone else kind of went out and explored this trip that she was on. She was with a lot of people. She was with like 20 friends and my dad. And everyone else kind of went out to grab some food and was walking around exploring. And then they went back to go get her and say, like, hey, like, let's get you dressed. Let's go out for the night. And, that's, she passed. She just had gone. And so it was completely shocking to everyone. No one understood. Like, it just didn't make sense. It's not like she was extremely sick or anything like that. It just was a very sudden, quick thing. And this also occurred 5 days after I gave birth to my youngest daughter. So it was just, it's never a good time to lose somebody, but seriously, like it was the worst. So yeah,
You,
crazy.
first of all, I can't even imagine what that would have been like for your dad and your parents' friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I make a dark humor comment?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think
I'm
it was one of
open.
those situations where your mom maybe was like, you know how like sometimes you eat something so good, you're like, oh, that was so good, I can just die.
Maybe it was the pasta.
It was the pasta. Not about the pasta. Do you
It's
know
not
that
about, I do, dude.
Vanderpump
Vanderpump Rules is one of my,
ending?
and like honestly, I'm mourning that situation that they're moving on and casting new people. Like I'm not
Yeah.
okay with
That's
that.
a whole nother grief. That's a whole nother episode. But
Truly.
like I think that's like there's so many layers of tragedy to your mom dying on vacation and like it happening, it coming out of nowhere. You just gave birth, you're on the other side of the world, having to get your mom back to America, right?
Yeah.
America.
Yep.
And like what? How, like I can't even wrap my head around like the logistics and the layers of complication
Oh my
with that.
gosh. That summer was like truly a clusterfuck because like I'm in, postpartum. I have my older daughter who's a toddler. Um, yes, trying to
And
figure
was your
out.
husband
So
already start was he away working?
no, 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 no. So my husband was prior military and then was living civilian life for like, 11 years. And so he just decided to go back in recently. So this is like a recent development
Mm.
coming back into the military life. But um yeah, it was absolutely bonkers. And, my husband had also lost his mom about a year prior to losing my mom. So like here we are, we have zero grandmas, right?
Oh.
And trying to find people to help watch my newborn and my toddler while I'm like, hey, I need to go plan stuff for my mom's funeral. Like it was just the worst. And so honestly, I look back at that summer and it's a blur, and I really don't even know how I got through it. It was like truly one day at a time. But I do remember the acute stage of grief just being so incredibly painful. Like your body truly hurts, you know? And there's my
I
truck.
love it. I love it. Um, Grief is painful, and I think like with mother loss, because my mom died very fast, but not as tragic, like not in the same tragic way. Like I think all loss is tragic in some level. It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Um, but because we come from our moms, like literally there's an umbilical cord, like we're so attached to them. Like
Hmm.
I know when my mom died, it's like a part of me died.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
a part of me died, and I was just like, I am never going to be the same. And like it was just so earth shattering because like I've had other loss too, but the mom, it's like you're literally like you're grown inside her, and there's a huge eagle circling right now, and it's like sunrise. Every time
She's saying
I got
hi.
goosebumps. Yesterday I had a couple calls, and every time I talked about my mom, the eagle would fly by. I can't even. I got goosies.
She's
I mean,
saying hi.
someone I heard called them spirit bumps, and I kind of like that.
Oh, I like that too.
Spirit
She's
bumps.
for sure saying hi. She's
Um,
hello.
Woo! I love it. Sorry. Okay. I digress. The eagle, I looked out the window. I live in the mountains in British Columbia, so and near a river. So I see eagles all the time, but very seldomly from my office. Like usually I'm by the river. So
For
this has now
sure.
happened a couple days in a row. And yesterday I saw them a few times, signs. But like it's interesting that you went through it in the order you went through it. Like you just gave birth to your second child and then that happened.
Mm.
Because it's really like I don't even know. I mean, I don't know how you did it because like and you probably just you were in survival mode and you just said one day at a time, but I feel like you're probably at one moment at a time.
Yeah.
And like I don't have kids, but like and we struggled with fertility and told we couldn't get pregnant, got pregnant, miscarried. And Dave died, my father-in-law, 3 weeks later. And I was like, we can do this. Like, we can have kids. And my husband's like, I don't know. My dad's not around. And then I was like, but we have my mom and your mom. And like, my dad was dying. But I was like, we have our moms. And then when my mom died 3 months later, we learned she was terminal and she died 3 days after learning she was terminal. But as soon as we learned she was terminal inside me, the idea of being a mom died because I was like, we're not going to have support. And I
Hmm.
don't want to do this without my mom. Like I pictured like taking my baby down with Baba Sharon to Palm Springs and like, my mom being like the typical Jewish Baba. And like I pictured this having this child with her. And I think like miscarriages are very painful, but deciding on not having the idea of being a mom died. I waited a whole year before like fully like putting an IUD in and like deciding. But I also like, and I don't even know how to say this, but like it's like the miscarriage was a blessing because I don't know how I would have navigated all of that with being pregnant and having a newborn.
Hmm.
Like I don't know
Thousand
how you did
percent.
it. Like I couldn't even take care of myself.
Yeah. No, I get that. And like there was a part of me, I can totally resonate with that. Like when my mom died, like nothing made sense in the world. And so it was very confusing. And it was just like you kind of just wanted to hit the reset button and you're like, no, like I can't do this without her. I can't continue on without her. And so, there's a piece of you that's just like, I you're submitting to it. Like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. And getting to the other side of, no, I can do this. That was where I started to feel empowered by it.
Mhm.
But um getting there wasn't easy. And
No.
I there's no like guidebook that's going to get you there.
I
It's
mean,
like,
I can tell you, like, there was like so as soon as my mom died, my aunt mailed me a book from Amazon and that helped. I read a book, but nothing, there's like the only thing, like, you have to want to feel better and
mhm,
put effort in. And sometimes knowing that you want to feel better and you can't put effort in is effort enough. But there is no manual on mending any of this.
for
And
sure.
I reached out to a few people who lost parents when it happened because I don't have a lot of friends who've lost parents. Now that's changing. Um, but the one constant piece of like advice was that over time you'll start to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, for
And
sure.
like, and I think like if you're listening to this and you're about to go through losing your mom or someone you love, the pain is intense and you have to want to feel better, but it's going to take time. Like it took me about a year to start feeling functional after I lost my mom. And also it was like the compound grief of the baby and Dave. And
Yeah.
then my dad died. So like I was sucked right back in. But like I remember like at the year mark, I was starting to feel like a real human, ready to go to restaurants, like leave the house, like walk around the block. And then my dad died and I went right back into my grief hole. And that's okay too. But when you're responsible for other humans,
Yeah.
that looks a little different because you can't just lie in bed.
Yeah. Well, and like that's the part that was really, really challenging too, is like not only was I responsible for humans, but prior to this year, I was actually in the classroom. And so I had to truly like put on a show, like a little tap dance while I'm feeling like dead inside to get these kids engaged and like sucked into like, hey, like we're learning stuff today. We're
Yeah.
learning Spanish today. And so, man, trying to do your job while you feel like that is
What
no easy feat.
because you have a so our lives are different in that sense where like I'm self-employed
Mhm.
and my boss was a bitch and did not give me time off. I took what I needed. I took the time I needed, but I wish I would have had some sort of bereavement leave. But like if I don't work, I don't make money, which is how I'm now planning for the future and making sure there's like a little fund. How long was your work able to give you time off?
So
'Cause it was
I was in,
summer.
yeah, I was in a unique situation because it was the summer, and then I was able to take my maternity leave at the beginning of the school year. So I did not have to go back to work until about like the middle of October. But
Man,
even then,
they should give us grief leave like maternity leave, birth and death.
yeah, for
Also,
sure.
you're probably your maternity is a lot shorter than in Canada. Canada, I think it's like 18 months.
Yeah. So I'm lucky that I work in a district where they give us 6 weeks, but normally teachers
That's
in the
it?
United, yes, normally teachers in the United States, they have to use all of their accumulated sick time. So that's how they use it. So like I was able to use my accumulated sick time and the 6 weeks that they gave me. So it ended up being around like 12 weeks or something
What do
like
you
that.
do
But
with a 6 week old baby when you go back to work? I can't wrap my head around that. Where do
I
they go?
know it's crazy.
Are there daycares that are mom?
Yeah,
Like,
there are, but like, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on how much
okay,
daycare is in the
okay, we
United
won't go
States.
down that route, but like, oh, just so you know, in Canada, it's like 12 to 18 months. Like,
What?
yeah.
I I
And
think
like, I
I need to
think
move.
I don't have kids, but there's like it's parental leave. So the dad, you can split it with your dad or with the dad.
With the dad.
And
Yeah.
I know a lot of friends who do that. Like the mom will take the first year and then go back to work, and then the dad will take time, or they split it so they're both home together.
Ugh, yeah. I think that that's something that needs to get changed, but
Yeah, our countries sometimes are very different and
mhm.
very the same. But so Laura dies.
Yep.
You bring life into the world. Laura dies. You go back to work. You're making your way through the world, and then you start a grief magazine.
Kind of.
What a response.
Yeah, there was like a time in between there where I did do things for myself. Like I was doing passion projects for myself because grief brings on these really crazy ruminations and
Mhm.
you think very deeply about life. And I was just perplexed by the fact that like one day this is going to be my children and me. Like I'm going to be the one that they're burying and my kids are going to feel like crap. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is, I don't want to leave them in this position, especially since my mom, it passed so suddenly. We didn't get to have like a goodbye, a proper goodbye or anything like that. And so I wrote a guided journal with the purpose of, I truly wrote it for my children, like notes that I would want to leave them about little things about life and very specific, odd, quirky things. And that was just like my teacher brain. Like, when I know I have to teach something, I break it down into very small bite-sized pieces so that I know that my students can understand it. And so that's basically kind of what I did is this is a huge monumentous task of trying to leave everything that you would ever want to say to your children, but breaking it down into small little things that are sometimes more comical or sometimes more fun and light. And then there's other things that are deeper or like life advice or, when you're going through really tough shit, this is what I have to say for you. And so I did that. I published it by myself. And I was having like a really hard time trying to sell myself, if that makes sense. Cause I'm like, this is a genius product. Everyone should want this. And not only is it something that I feel like I did really well, but I made it from the heart. But I was struggling trying to find a platform that wanted to talk more about these types of conversations. There's like niche podcasts and things like that, but it was really, really hard to like truly have grief conversations on the regular, right? And
Mhm.
so that's where my mind started to click that we needed to create something bigger than just legacy letters because I was connecting with other people online and we were all talking and we all have these like griefy passion projects, like things that really the grief changed our souls. And so as a result, it redirected our purpose. And so all of these people are creating these beautiful things, cards, books, like um art, like all of this stuff. And I'm like, why isn't there a platform talking about this and screaming it from the rooftops, giving people who are grieving more hope, right? Because that's what you need when you're in like the thick of it and you're feeling like you can't go on. You need to know that other people have gone through it and come out on the other side. And so it was one of those moments where I'm just like in the shower shampooing my hair and it was just like I need to start a magazine. And I literally went downstairs, brewed myself a cup of coffee, opened up my computer and started typing. And my husband was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm starting a magazine." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Okay," and so it was one of those things that came to my head and I just did it. And I didn't stop. Like I didn't look back. I didn't question it. I just knew deep down that like that was something that needed to happen. So it was very much like inspired action. Like I felt inspired and I just did it. And so yes, I did just create a grief magazine out of my grief. It was about like a year and a half in. And no, I don't even know. I can't even do math.
It's okay. It's
It was
happened.
last year. So last year when I did it, my mom died in 2022. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, I was a little bit in, a little bit in.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's quarterly, it's very beautiful. It's not like we're kind of talking about favorite magazines and how it's kind of like maybe the Cosmo of grief, but like less tips on blowjobs,
I
right?
mean, maybe we can squeeze that in there. I don't
I can tell you that when you're deep in grief, that's not what you want to be doing.
know. Absolutely not.
But like it's really beautiful. Like it's real like I said, Kara, you're for hire. I mean, I want to hire you. Like you're amazing. And what's really cool is that like the Resilient AF is like we're sharing stories of people overcoming life's greatest challenges. And I like to say what we're doing is kind of like a textbook for resilience.
Mhm.
Um, and we define resilience as bouncing forward from a challenging experience and grief. I would say you don't really bounce forward. Hi. Hello, people of the internet.
They're like so curious. They're just like sitting on a
It's
chair, like,
okay.
what's going on?
Um, well, she's gonna follow in your footsteps.
Hey, I have to finish this, okay?
I love real
Why
life. We're good. We're good.
you
We're
want
almost done.
water? How about this? Can I get you water in a second? Okay.
For
Can we
those of
be
you who
patient?
can't see, we have a little visitor on the screen. Um, so we share stories and we, share advice. And so Kara and I not only developed this like beautiful friendship, but we were talking and just talking about how we're meant to heal as community, right? We're
For
meant to
sure.
heal in community. We're meant to work like humans are naturally social, and we're not meant to go through stuff alone and be in silos.
Mhm.
And so she came up with a cool idea about the first issue for 2025, which is the issue that's out this week for Get Griefy. And it's all about collaboration.
Yes.
And
Um,
you're currently listening to the co-editors in chief or co-editor in chiefs,
yes, that is
co
very true.
the
Yeah,
co-editors in chief. I don't know what that plural of that is. Do you? You're a teacher.
that's a good question. I'm a
We're just
Spanish
the
teacher,
co-editor in
so
chief. We're just the co.
yeah,
That's the plural.
yeah, yeah.
And we've celebrated the launch of the next book, Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 2 in New York together. And we're gracing the cover. And it's all about collaboration where we brought our community of authors and your community of the collective. Is it called the Get Griefy Business Collective?
Small business collective.
Small Business
Yep.
Collective.
Yeah, yeah,
But if you're a big business, you can join too.
yeah. It's just because we say small business doesn't mean it's like for small
Yeah,
people or small ideas or small business.
no,
It's like for big people.
we're big
Big.
people.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, and so it's beautiful because we've now like brought our communities together because together we heal.
Hmm. Yeah. No, 1,000%. And like that's been a common theme that I've noticed among a lot of people is that it's not that misery loves company. It's like that you just want to feel seen and heard, and you want to connect with other people that are also having a hard time because, yes, exactly what we said, together we heal. And so it just feels good to be around other people that get it. Not like it feels good that like, oh, good, someone else is there, but it's you're just having that connective moment, like you're a shared human experience. And so I think that that's the really cool part about it. So
Yeah. So you could buy it on your website. All the links are in the show notes. Is
for
it
sure.
getgriefymagazine.com?
Yep.
And that's her social handles as well. You can also read it for free. The print copy is pretty awesome. Like I love having it around. Um, it's actually interesting. I was on a call with someone that you introduced me to, and she like lifted it up. She's like, "It's you. I know everything about you." And I was like, "That's so weird." But like I also everyone knows everything about me because I'm an open book. So it's like that's
Yeah.
not weird, but it was just kind of like, oh yeah. But I absolutely love it. In 2025, it's just, for us, it's about collaborating, it's about growth, it's about empowering more people to share
Hmm.
their stories of grief, the different types of grief. This issue has some really interesting, phenomenal articles. And yeah, it's really fun. And we invite you to check it out. And the other issues are archived on the website, so you can actually go and read the other issues too. And like, it's just so phenomenal. And the grief community, as in the people in the expert space, but also the grievers, like we're all grievers. Like the world's a griefy place.
Yeah, we're all experts in our own lives. So I feel like we
Right.
all have a voice to share and we all have a story to share.
Mm,
And so I think that that's the cool part about it is that it's not just like people with prestigious degrees giving us advice, which there are people who
it's a mix.
are
Yeah.
involved,
Like
but
world-renowned producers and experts, but there's also
mhm.
humans like you listening here, going through stuff, went through stuff, who have a voice a voice. We all have a
Yeah.
voice, and we all have the ability to share and tell stories. And what a gift to have a print publication, because there's this, out there, everyone's like, oh, the print media is dead, but it's not. And like, I'm in the public relations space, like that's my training. And there's just something tangible about holding a magazine. And if, having it on your table, coffee table, and someone flipping through it or putting it in the bathroom for a party so people have something to like escape to or poop with, and like read the magazine, like buy the print, put it on the table. Maybe you want to advertise in it, but Kara's building something really fucking special. And I'm just so honored to call her like one of my griefy besties.
For sure. No, this has been so fun to like collaborate together and work together and just talk about our experiences together.
Mhm.
And it's
I
been a
love it.
ride. It's a
It's,
wild ride.
yeah, I love it. It's amazing. So, as we wrap up, again, click all the links in the show notes. Go to getgriefymagazine.com to buy the issues of current and past. Read them online for free. Share them with people in your life. If someone's going through something, share the link. Like one of the best things that was given to me in the wake of my mother's grief was a book.
Yeah.
And so the magazines are free. The other person just, well, you can actually even download them and like give them the PDF, but like they just need the link.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to share a piece of advice for someone who's going through something similar, maybe someone who suddenly loses their mom.
Yeah, I was like actually thinking about this on the way to Pilates is like, what would I share with somebody who is going through it? And I think that in this community, in this space, sometimes um, we like to allow ourselves to give each other grace and give ourselves grace. And I think that that's important for sure. But there are other days where, much like a workout, you do have to push through if you want to get stronger. And it's going to be painful and it's going to be uncomfortable,
Hmm.
but you still have to do it, right? So it's very like, I know you talk about resilience muscles. It's like kind of the same thing, like with grief, you can't just like rot in bed all day long. So like if
Well, you can for a few days.
you can, yes, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that yes, you can rot
You're not going to get better by rotting in bed.
forever, right? And so
Yeah.
like eventually you have to make that conscious decision to, okay, today I'm going to do 10 minutes of something productive. And maybe the next day it's like an hour of something productive. Like just slowly build off of it. And I think that would be my advice because eventually you're going to get to the point where you are more productive than rotting. And then you're going to look back and be like, whoa, how did I get here? And so um, the rotting is very much like an essential piece of the grief, but like just don't stay there would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful advice. And I just want to share a quick analogy. And I think I don't actually know if I've shared this on here, but I was doing some healing and I was doing a visualization, and there's this concept called nurse logs. And in the forest, when a tree dies or falls down and like dies, it actually starts to grow new life coming from it. And they're called
Mhm.
nurse logs because of all the nutrients and the stuff and loss. And it's kind of like in the circle of life thing. And that's
Yeah.
kind of like great visualization of grief for me. It's like you fall down, and then over time, there's this new growth, this new life that comes from you because you're never going to be the same.
Hmm.
And I think, like, that's like the tree rotting. Like, go be the tree that rots on the forest floor and then let new life start to grow.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, it's not like I'm saying that anyone encourages people to rot. That's not what I'm saying. I just think that
Rot.
like sometimes we like overextend and we're like, it's okay. And it's like at some point you do have to make a decision to do something that's not rotting,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And
I
so
mean,
it's a
yeah,
balance.
it's a balance.
You have to do what's right for you. You have to know your body. You have to know like where you're at in your journey. But my biggest piece of advice is just not rot forever.
Yeah.
Make
Don't
good
rot
decisions.
forever.
Yeah.
Just be a nurse log, take a minute, grow some
Mhm.
plants.
True. Plant ladies here. Plant ladies.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my God, Carrie, you're amazing. And thank you for coming on this show with me.
No, thank you. This has been fun.
I
I'm glad we
love
could
it.
make it work.
Yeah. And to everyone out there who's spent some time with Kara and myself and who's been listening or who's just discovering us for the first time, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us. And just remember, like, it's okay to not be okay. Like, grief is shitty. Life is full of beautiful times, hard times.
Right.
And yeah, and you're gonna get through the hard times. You just need to put one foot in front of the other when you're done temporarily rotting on the couch, and you will get through it. You're not alone, and it's completely okay to not be okay. We're human. That's part of being a human. And know that we are that lighthouse in the storm for you, and that we are here to help you through it. And friends, just remember, you are resilient AF. That's a wrap for another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And thank you for listening. Are you feeling inspired to bounce forward?
Let's connect at theglobalresilienceproject.com, where you can read many stories of resilience, buy our books, shop our clothing line, learn more about how to strengthen your resilience muscle, be empowered, and more.
Remember, friends, you are resilient AF.